Hello again, everyone. It's Patricia and my guest host, Tommy D. And I'm going to discuss our trip to the Allegro Palma de Real in Varadero, Cuba. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Patricia. How are you?
I'm good. So, what is your opinion of the Allegro Palma de Real and our experience in the party hotel?
Okay, well, you have to remember that this is essentially a 2.5 star hotel in Cuba. Okay, so what you see is not necessarily what you get. Okay, now on the positive side, we did have a great time at the hotel.
We did.
It is a cross between a young person's party hotel and a geezer hotel, as I call it. Okay,
Mixed into
so
one.
you're either in your 20s or in your 90s. It's like one of those kind of hotels. So it's more like a motel hotel.
No tell motel.
Picture like a Super 8 that had seen better days. Okay. When we got there, we got off at that time. We got off the bus. It was our first trip to Cuba together. Actually, we've been there 4 times, and that was our first experience. But again, tight budgets, and kind of like, okay, this is five and change. And again, I usually don't go off the first page of TripAdvisor, but I thought, okay, weighing the cons and pros and this and that. I said, okay, it's between this and some other place and another place, and I picked the best of all three of the places.
So we are gonna get the pros or the cons. Which one should we go with?
Well, I always go with the cons first because they're more fun. When we got there, well, I got there about
10:30.
8. No, we got there about 9 o'clock at night, I think it
Okay.
was. Now, I'd never been to Cuba before and didn't realize that how dark it was. Like once you're off the hotel, the highway is like 5 cars, and we went by this building that had like we must have had like 50 people behind two light bulbs just staring at our bus when we came up to a light, just looking at us. And I realized there's no power here. Like without the hotel, you'd be living in. They really ration out the power here.
Yeah, they do.
So it's our first experience. Well, my wife's already been there before in Holguin, but I'd never been there before. It's my first time. So I was quite, very, really excited. Like, it's
Yeah.
always your first time you remember the most, right?
Yeah.
So we get off the bus and we get into the hotel, pull up in the front, and there's a lot of stories on this place, man, believe me. But we probably have to do 2 videos on this. But so we get off the bus and we get into the front, and there are just always really wild partiers at the bar, the lobby bar.
The lobby. Yeah.
So I figured, oh God, we got a week of these, crazy Russian, partiers, from different countries, and I thought, okay, well, we're not 92 years old there, so we're just there. We might having a good time. Luckily, it was their last night, and they were leaving the next day, so they were just celebrating, right? So we get to the reception, and we get off the bus and get to reception, and she gives us our room. So we get a room, and remember, this is the winter time. This is in January, so it's like minus 30 here, minus 25 in Toronto, and it's like plus 28 there. So we get there with all this winter clothes on and boots
Boots and
and
fur coats
right.
and
My wife's wearing these big winter boots, and it's like walking into Toronto in June from January to the next day, right?
yeah.
So we get off we go to our room. I didn't realize our room was all the way to the end of the resort, like
Yeah.
at the back end, like you'll see a picture of it on the back. We were right at the back with a fantastic view of these like young students from I think they were from
French, Quebec or something.
Quebec, from Quebec or from Italy. They were playing ping pong, and I said, "Oh, great view of a ping pong table."
Yeah.
But I didn't mind because we didn't spend a lot of time in the room.
No.
Like unlike other places I've been, I didn't really spend much time on the balcony, so I really didn't care. But so we get there, the first room, and we open the door. Now remember, this is like when you're at the back end of the resort. If I'd gave her 10 pesos, probably would have gotten a much better room with a better view. But this is my first trip to Cuba. I really didn't know how it played out here. Now I do, but back then I didn't. So I get there and the room's not made. The bed's not made,
It's not
it's not
clean,
clean,
nothing.
nothing. Okay, and so we have to trek all the way back to
The
the
lobby.
lobby, all the way past the pool and down the hall, all this good stuff. Get to the back front and say, "There's no, the room's not been made up." And she's giving us a sort of frown. Now you have to remember, customer service is not the greatest aspect of Cuban hospitality. It's yes, you meet some great people on the staff, but their hospitality definitely, the front desk needs to be upgraded. You know, they tend to have this sort of like they act like they're a 5-star hotel, but with an attitude to go with it, but it's not. So if you're expecting the Monaco experience or the Ritz, it's not it.
It's a
Don't just
three-star hotel with three-star ambiance.
depending on what day you're there. Okay, goes from 2 stars to 2.5 to 3, back to 2.5, but never above 3. So we go back and we get a second room. So we get back to the second room, same area, same block, all the way to the back, and we get to the room, and thankfully at this time it's made up. Now, the difference is in Palma de Real, the hotel itself, when you get inside, there's a lot. It's a lot of. We were on actually on the first floor, so we were lucky. The elevator, of course, was out of service naturally.
Actually, I want to interject. It's called Allegro Palma Real. They've had a name change, so it's not Palma de Real anymore.
Yeah, in Cuba, when hotels sort of max out with the bad reviews, they tend to change the name. So one day it's the, Palma de Real, Palm Springs, and the next day it's now called the Prince Le Maud, kind of thing, to sort of reinvent itself as a new experience, right? But, you get to the hotel, and the one thing that strikes you is that it has a very East German prison type feel to it. Cuban elevators are extremely, very risky when you get in these elevators, because there's a good chance that you could be stuck in there until the next
Millennium.
your next millennial, okay, and until your next vacation. So
I must say that Tommy is a bit what?
claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic. So
And
Cuban elevators is not
no,
his
I got
favorite
some more
place to be.
experiences on Cuban elevators when some of my stories
In
in
Havana.
Havana that will still to this day I'm in therapy over it. Okay, believe me. So I'm not great in elevators, but in Cuban elevators, if you have touch of claustrophobia,
Don't go in there.
do not. I climbed 50 floors first before, and actually I have climbed gone down like 7 floors just not to go in the elevator in Havana. But it's another story. So we get there.
Are we on the pros or the cons?
I think we're doing the middle. So
Go back to the
I think
cons.
this was the pros.
No. We had a good time.
Okay,
We'll get to
so
the good
anyway,
stuff.
so we get there, and the bed's made, and now, like I said, the hotel has a very East German prison feel to it. So you kind of go in past the area, where the supposed lobby bar is, which of course is closed, and then you get through all these kids playing ping pong and whatever they're doing. They look like students from Sweden or Ukraine or whatever the hell they're from, and so we get past them, and the things that freak you out is there was a lot of mold in the hallways. So there's a lot of black mold, and it's kind of freaky, right? So you're kind of like, okay, it's got a very East German prison feel to it. Going down halls that are very kind of like yellow, painted, as again East German prison feel. You get to your suite. Okay, so you get to your room, and again the room is finally made up. Okay, fine, great. Now you go in, and apparently they have a junior suite. I think they drag out an old couch out of the side of the hotel, and then they drag it up, put a few chairs in. Now it's a junior suite. But if you tip enough pesos, you get a better room, better view. But back then, that was my first trip. I didn't really know the ropes of that kind of travel then. Now I do, of course, but I'm pretty much a pro at it now. But back then, I was still learning. I was just amateur at that type of travel, all-inclusive travel. So
I don't want to discourage you from going. We're in the cons. There are pros, so just remember it's the
I
cons.
thought we were on the pros. Okay, sorry. So, yeah, because this was our third trip together. We'd already been to Las Vegas twice. So this was actually our third trip together. So I never been to an all-inclusive before. Patricia had, but it was a different experience back in the day than it was when we went there together. So anyway, so we get to the hotel, to the room, and we check out the amenities in the room. Now, your curtains are your bed blankets, so basically they match. So picture very much a 1960s type of hotel back in the day, 66 kind of thing. The curtains match the blankets. The blankets are paper thin. The pillows are like 1 inch thick. So you really have to put in and there's two beds slammed together as your queen size bed that you ordered. That's what they consider a queen size bed. So we checked out the amenities, which is basically you go in the bathroom. Now the tub is like really high up.
I almost fell and broke my
so did
neck.
I actually. So I had to actually help Patricia out of the bathroom when she got out of the tub, shower, because it was so high up. You can easily slip and break your neck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like climbing a wall to get out of the bathtub.
And you forget, you just go and over
So they have your typical sink, and you have your two amenities, your shampoo and conditioner I never use, and the circular soap that I use, hair dryer I used, of course, and then the toilet paper, and you got a window over the bathroom, which is cool. And then you have the toilet paper, which is like 1-ply. So it's the kind of stuff you get like at Dollar Tree or what it's like, and they give you like 2 rolls or 3 rolls, and that's it. So you should always bring like 6 rolls of 3-ply toilet paper when you go to Cuba, because toilet paper down there is really, really difficult to acquire, and when you do get it, it's a 1-ply. So it's better to bring on our next trip, we brought 6 rolls of 3-ply cottonelle. So we were good for toilet paper, and you keep it locked in your suitcase so it doesn't magically disappear. So we get in the room, and Patricia got really cold. It was the first night we were there.
From winter,
Yeah, and we got the chills because the sudden temperature change was like 50 Celsius. It was like a huge change. So we went out and grabbed the blanket. Now, the blanket, between the mold and the blanket itself inside where the hotel safe is, the blanket probably hadn't been washed in about 50 years. And
it smelled like from...
It's like an old horse saddle blanket, and when I tried to use it, and literally, like...
I rejected it. I just threw it off me. No way.
You know those blankets they used to use in those old John Wayne movies? They put over the blanket over the horse, and then they put a saddle on top. Well, that's what it smelled like, and it hadn't been washed probably since John Wayne rode through there with his horse, right? And it's just you don't want to do that. So we left the blanket there, and for the next couple who probably have never used it in 50 years, since John Wayne rode through there on his horse. And we have a horse story, by the way, coming up later.
But tell them about the incredible Aztec dreams we had.
At that time, nobody tells you in the brochures that at that time there was a huge gas refinery about 8 miles from that part of Varadero. So when we get there the first night, it kind of like you expect these ocean breezes of like, but again, it's my first trip to Cuba, and I expecting these like massive breezes of ocean and parrots, and you just have this tropical vision, and you get there and you realize it smells like Pittsburgh in the middle of August in a heat wave. And I kept thinking, well, where's all these fresh fumes, where's all this like beautiful fresh Caribbean air? And it was like essentially like walking into Pittsburgh in a heat wave and on one of those smoggy days. So they didn't realize this gas fume was letting off these fumes at night. And we had these by the third day in, we had these massive psychedelic dreams where it's like you were like sniffing gas fumes and these wild dreams. And I'd be like, what does that smell?
Well, I did tell you I smelled gas.
Yeah,
gas
we thought it was something wrong with maybe the air conditioning units or the units itself, but we found out later on there was like I said, there was a massive gas refinery about 10 miles away. So for 3 days out of the 7, we were literally like sleeping like John Lennon went on a psychedelic, trip to
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds,
having dreams about Aztec warriors, and it was just freaky. I never, it's just. And the next day you wake up and it was fresh breeze. Cuba's very breezy, right? So we come out and we go. We made it through the first night. We piled up our jackets on top and we put underneath our head. And later on we bought a few pillows from the maid for 5 pesos. So we were. But the pillows I said again, they're like an inch wide or inch thick. So so basically
We had it to
We had
breakfast.
TV at that time. We had two channels. So you had Chinese television, CCTV, which is English version, and you had CTV News in Canada. So we watched movies at night. I'm a TV guy. When the day's over, I want to watch TV a bit. My wife goes to sleep, and then I go to sleep. So between the John Lennon psychedelic Beatle dreams and we're doing this thing. So anyways, we get to
Breakfast. We go to
breakfast.
breakfast.
Eating at the at that time, eating at the buffet at the time. Okay, you're okay. You walk in and I know now that the Cubans flood the locals flood the resort, so you're basically fighting the Cubans, the French Canadians, and the Russians for the food. And again, picture like four seagulls fighting over a French fry in McDonald's parking lot. So here you walk in, and actually, when food wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't as bad as people said it was. I had the best strawberry jam I ever had in my life there. Actually, it was incredible. It was like so fresh. So basically, what you do is you do in the lineup, and you look for what you're looking for in a 2.5-star Cuban hotel buffet.
It's basic. It's basic.
Like
From
if you're a foodie, it's not a place you go, right?
No.
So we were looking through it, and they had this thing, and I never seen a Cuban buffet before. And a lot of it I just couldn't eat because I didn't know what it was, didn't understand what it was. I didn't even know what it was there for. And they had this thing called the mulch. I named it the mulch.
Baked beans.
It was like, picture like baked beans, no-name baked beans. Piled in with prison leftover scrubs, and then mixed into some kind of concoction that nobody touched. It just sat there. It was like something that you'd eat in in a Bolivian prison. It was like we called it. So I nicknamed it the mulch.
We never touched it. Nobody did because
Nobody
you'd be
did.
living
It
in the
just-
bathroom if you did.
If you ate this, you are one.
You're done.
You are one brave person.
No.
You've done 5 years in a Bolivian prison, and you've toughed it out.
But you can get eggs, scrambled eggs, anywhere you want. And they had this fruit bread that we lived on. We had that instead of toast. You can get toast in it, but we had fruit bread. And we also
had fruit bread and We had fruit bread, scrambled eggs, some omelets,
jam and coffee.
Yeah, we're cool. We're
Just
not big
basic.
foodie people, right?
No.
This isn't the place for the Kardashians, okay? And the
No.
entourage.
It's just your basic stuff.
So if you're J-Lo and you're expecting that kind of a treatment, it's not going to happen here. So we made the best of it, of the situation. And they had this cheese. Now, Cubans have this hotel has a way of slicing cheese that literally no one can slice it that thin. And if Cubans had a deli, you would have to order 9,000 grams of cheese just to get enough for your sandwich. There must have been 400 slices of thin cheese that you could literally see the bottom of the tray. It was so thin. And I thought, even with 900 slices, you can still see the bottom of the tray, right? So
They're very frugal.
right. So then I go around the corner, and I learned quickly that you tip the chef, especially the night chef, a couple of pesos, and everybody else is waiting like suckers in the lineup. You tip them a couple of pesos, and you get some nice fish. The guy's a good cook. Night shift guy, day shift guy were really good cooks, right?
And the fish was really good. I like the fish steaks.
Yeah, you tip them a couple of pesos, and everybody's waiting in line like the scrubs, and I just gave them 2 pesos, got what I wanted, bang, bang, bang. I'm back to the table with my wife, and we had ordered some wine. It was good, not bad, good wine.
Yeah.
Green prison table type, table cloths.
Curtains on the table.
Sorry, cloths. Probably were curtains at one time. So we're sitting there now. We had the same maid, and so we used to tip. And as long as you keep tipping, everybody's your friend. When you don't tip anymore, you're no longer the friend. So I actually enjoyed the food. A lot of people complain about the food there, but if you're not a big foodie, you'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Right?
You'll be okay.
Okay, now let's get to the orange juice. Now the orange juice
Tang.
is like tang mixed in with rubbing alcohol. And I knew that because of all the so-called orange juice that was left over, I always felt that maybe they took all of it, put it in a barrel in the back of the kitchen, and then mixed it around with a mop, and then put it back in the next day. Because what it tasted like, right?
Every table had the orange juice. I guess when everybody took a sip, they knew what it was.
Again, tang mixed in with rubbing alcohol.
So nobody drank it.
And if you did, you're one brave, thirsty person.
No.
Okay.
So you look out for that.
Okay. So the breakfast is okay. We had fruit bread. You know, we were all right.
I liked it.
As I said, you know, if you can fight off everybody else and get what you got to get before, because if you get there late, there's probably not going to be much left. They're not into replenishing.
No.
So try to get there early. You know, the first half an hour, and then get what you got to get, and then you're okay. So, anyways, this might have to be a two-part series of this hotel because there's so much to tell about this. So, anyways, so we do our tips, and you get what you get, you know, and the characters you meet there are quite funny. You got the repeaters. You know, repeaters are people that have been there 438 times and they know all the staff. So when you see on these TripAdvisor reports, they'll say, oh, thank you to Margarita, Rabito, Roberto, Batita, Basata, Batata. They've been there 49 times. So they're called repeaters. And you never take the advice of repeaters on reviews because, you know, they just have very biased towards one viewpoint. Now, the thing is about this hotel, you got to be very careful with lower-end all-inclusives is because they make up a lot of their money by extras. Now, one thing that I always seen that people do when you're in some of these hotels is, especially at this hotel, people continually said that they went into town and ate their meals in town. And I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of an all-inclusive if you're paying for an all-inclusive and spending $1,500 or 1,500 pesos in your week eating in town. That kind of that kind of goes against the purpose of why you're there. So why not take that extra money and just get yourself a nicer hotel or upgrade?
Yeah, but sometimes you get there and, you know, you think the food is going to be good and you say, no, I can't stomach this, and you want to go into town. Like when we went into town.
A few times. We went in town a few times.
Remember the guy when we walked past, it was a garage and...
Okay, as I said, this is going to be like a two-part series because it's that much. The food is actually better than I thought it would be. I guess again, if you're a foodie, you know, but we're not foodies. We're just basic people when it comes to food. So we ate the same thing every day. We didn't explore too much. It's not, and the bread, love the breads. Only the breads were harder than the tables, so I didn't really eat the breads. They were just sort of showcased. They've been there for a long time. Night chef, day chef were cool. Waiting staff was great, very friendly.
What about when we were going to the beach?
The beach is, okay, you come out of the hotel and you got to go down, as I remember, you go down the front way, then you make a left, go across the street, and you got to walk all the way down to the beach.
About a 10-minute walk from the hotel
15-minute walk
to the beach. Yeah, but beautiful white sand.
But then you really, you know, you're fighting with the other tourists for the few available chairs that aren't broken, that aren't taken. People put towels there at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening. They haven't even been there, but they still have their towels there, which means it's been reserved. So a lot of the chairs were broken. There wasn't that many. Now, the thing is, the beach was beautiful, fantastic. If you can find, we had a really hard time finding chairs, though, that weren't busted. Now, the thing is, too, is that they have certain days where they have, say, a box jellyfish problems is like any ocean. They have days where they can't monitor it. Like they basically say, you can't go in the water today because there's box jellyfish. So I asked the guy, I said, well, you know, you must be the lifeguard. And he looks at me and goes, you know, no. And he goes, I'm not the lifeguard. I just do the monitoring of the beach. So, you know, and I said, so where's the lifeguard? And he goes, oh, I have to run into the hotel and find a lifeguard. And I'm like, all these people are thinking this guy's a lifeguard. So if you're out in the ocean getting attacked by jaws, or, you know, you're drowning or whatever happening, and the beaches, you know, they're beautiful, but they're rough, you know, you get some undertow, right? And so then you find out that these guys aren't actually the lifeguards. He says he has to run in to the other hotel next door and then look for the lifeguards. So if the other lifeguard is upstairs on the 10th floor, getting it on with the maid, by the time he gets his clothes on and gets downstairs and gets to the front and gets his tip, and then runs to the beach, you're probably about halfway to the Bahamas by then, or some sharks taking you away, right? So a lot of people didn't realize that these guys are not lifeguards. So that's one thing you realize, that in your swimming in the ocean, be very careful, because make sure there's other people behind you. So if there's any sharks or anything that comes at you, you know that they're first, and you can get the hell out of there and get to the beach before while they're being mulched. Okay, so be smart. Okay, like never be the guy at the end of the line there. Always be the guy halfway through. So if anything happens, someone else is, you know, screaming for help, and meanwhile you're running for the beach to save your own behind, because that's how it runs, right?
But I gotta say, the beaches
Beautiful.
are really beautiful in Cuba. I
Yes,
gotta say,
they are.
from all the
All
places
the
I've
times.
traveled to,
Always.
I have to say that Cuban beaches are the
Yes,
best.
and the pool itself is so cold that it's like someone dropped 3,000 pounds of ice cubes
Yeah,
into the pool.
yeah.
The you're again, it's a very party place. So when people get around the pool,
There's music
it's music all
24/7,
day, all
all
night,
day,
and
all
they take
night.
over the chairs, and they're
Yeah.
there for the whole day drinking their beer, watered down hooch beer. The beer itself, again, it's again, it's like the orange juice. It's formaldehyde mixed in with rubbing alcohol mixed in with hops. So imagine the worst beer you ever drank in your life, and it's in a glass, and that's what it tastes like.
But
So
it is, as I said, it's a party hotel, and I would say the age group for that is, people from, I guess, high school on March break
yeah,
to, I would say, in your,
90s,
yeah, anywhere in
high
between.
school or geezer. It's one or the other.
Yeah,
Either you're 19 or you're 90.
yeah.
90% of the time, you'll meet a lot of other types of people from different parts of Canada. A lot of Canadians, a lot of French Canadians. I won't go into that part.
But I must,
Russians, again, the Russians.
but I must say that if you're a young guy and you're looking for to get a girlfriend or a chica, you're not going to find it there because everybody's pretty much, coupled
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So it's not like that. So
I mean, if you really want to, you can, but you kind of just go to the door and they say, "Hey, blah blah blah." You send him a few pesos. He makes a deal. But we should actually, this is a two-part series. There's actually a lot to tell about this particular hotel. So we're going to wrap this up for this particular version, and we'll go on to part 2 of Palma Real Varadero, your experience, and I'll go on to the negative part of this.
I thought we just did that. No,
Wait a minute. Oh, that was the. Oh, sorry. Okay.
no, this is a hotel. As I said,
Motel.
it was a 3-star when we went, 3+. Now it's a two and a
I
half.
think it was a
So
5 in the 60s, 4 in the 70s, 3 in the 80s, and then hit 2.5, and it's stuck there, right?
yeah, because it's a party hotel. But we had a lot of fun. We didn't have a great, fabulous time, but
But we had a great
we
time
had
there.
a really good
And
time.
then we'll go on to the second part, which is even more interesting than the first. Again, if you don't mind fighting with Russians, French Canadians, and some Germans for fighting around, rolling around the parking lot for looking for places to sit on the beach. You don't mind.
Or you don't mind having a near-death experience on
There's
the back of a
No,
donkey
we'll get to
cart.
that part, the second part. If you
Yeah.
don't mind lifeguards who you think are lifeguards but are actually staying in the hotel on the other floor with somebody with the maid, then we'll go on to the second part and we'll tell the second experiences of staying at the Palma de Real Allegro hotel motel in Varadero, Cuba.
Actually, it's called the Allegro Palma Real, Varadero, Cuba. Look it up and you will see. Anyway, this is Patricia Ann
Tommy D.
signing off. And hopefully you will return again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and view my other videos on Cabo San Lucas. And we have some other videos that we will be.
We've already reviewed and we'll be reviewing not only together but my own experiences and having traveled through Europe when I was younger, and I will tell you some places I've been in across Canada and such. So we both in total I've been to 11 countries, so we've been to the ones that count, and it's not a race, right? I mean, travel is one of those experiences where you get to a point where you kind of just peter out and you've had enough, right? So I will go on and tell you the experiences we've had with this hotel, and we'll go on to the second part.
Okay.
So
Well,
signing off.
see you next time. Bye.
Ciao, bello.